Welcome back to Recap Pro. Today I'll recap a mystery thriller film called Gone Girl. Spoilers ahead. The movie begins on the 5th of July 2012. Nick, a writing teacher, takes out the trash early in the morning. Then he goes to a bar he owns with his sister Margot. He presents her with a mastermind board game, which she discards. She pours a glass for each of them. Nick anticipates another treasure quest on their 5th wedding anniversary. Nick is upset and doesn't want to be there. Meanwhile, Nick recalls meeting his wife on the 8th of January, 2005. Nick and Amy met at a New York party. He writes for a men's magazine, she does personality tests. She criticizes his chin cleft, making him seem untrustworthy. He places 2 fingers over the cleft to show trust. They stroll by a bakery receiving a sugar delivery. Nick and Amy stroll in a cloud of sugar. Nick says he must kiss Amy immediately. He kisses her and wipes her sugary lips. They are subsequently shown in bed, she in her undies, him having an orgasm on her. At present, Nick now gets a call from a neighbor claiming his cat is outside. He returns home and calls Amy. His wife did not answer. Inside, a table with a broken glass top greets him. Nick calls Amy, startling a neighbor. Nick calls the police. Officer Jim and Detective Rhonda visit him. They investigate. Rhonda sees blood splatter on the stove. They see Amazing Amy photos in the living room, Amy's parents' book series. Rhonda likes the books and is surprised Nick married Amazing Amy. Meanwhile, Nick narrates his and Amy's connection with the detective. On the 24th of February, 2007, Nick and Amy attended a party hosted by Rand and Mary Beth. It's to celebrate the latest Amazing Amy book. The parents' fictional Amazing Amy persona is a drastically better version of their genuine daughter marketed to the public. Rand invites Amy to an interview with reporters. They ask her basic things like why she's not married yet, and she answers Amazing Amy has always been one step ahead of her. Nick enters as a reporter. Soon after, he opens his notepad to show an engagement ring. He says she has a beautiful crotch. Nick is questioned regarding Amy's disappearance today. Rhonda and Jim find it weird that he doesn't know Amy's blood type or whether she has any close friends. He dials Amy's parents. Her mother approaches Rhonda. Nick discovers his father Bill strolling around town, having left his assisted living facility, in the next room. His father has Alzheimer's. Nick drives him back. Meanwhile, Nick remains at Margot's as the cops come to his. Noelle, Amy's closest friend and pregnant neighbor, asks about Amy. Officer Gilpin claims he discovered a thing in the upstairs bedroom's unmentionables drawer. Detective Boney takes out the Clue 1 envelope. Nick says Amy usually organizes a treasure hunt for their anniversary in the present day. It takes him and Rhonda to his office, where he finds another envelope titled Clue 2. In the office, Detective Boney discovers red panties. This revelation surprises Nick since it is unrelated to the clue. The second clue describes a brown home but leaves the investigator puzzled. Nick visits his father's blue-painted ancient house. Arrives but raises the alarm. He repeatedly tries to deactivate the alarm without success. The alarm monitoring company calls to investigate. The detectives arrive just as he explains that it is his father's residence. He discovers the third clue there but just has time to tuck it away from the police. The detectives wonder why he's there. He claims he checks on it once a week. On the other hand, Amy's parents arrive from New York for a news conference about Amy's disappearance. He is invited to stand next to an Amy poster, and a photographer captures his quick smirk. Meanwhile, they meet with Rhonda to narrow down the list of suspects. Amy's ex-boyfriend, Desi Collins, allegedly attempted to kill himself when Amy dumped him. They also discuss Tommy O'Hara, a former classmate convicted of sexually abusing Amy. Moreover, people also come to the volunteer center to help Amy. Desi is the only one who departs without saying anything. Nick attempts to be pleasant, but Officer Jim is skeptical. Mary Beth says he's behaving like a homecoming king. A lady approaches Nick in a corridor and offers a chicken Frito pie dish. She snaps a photo with him, urging him to say, "Chicken Frito pie." He fakes a smile as she snaps the picture, then realizes his mistake and requests her to delete it. He begs her not to tell anybody, and she refuses. "I'll share it with everyone I want," she says as she leaves. It gets viral. As a result, the media scrutinize Nick. Celebrities like Ellen Abbott characterize him as a cold psychopath. In 2010, Amy's journal detailed her and Nick's employment losses. But that's just background noise, Amy adds after describing their problems. She claims it doesn't matter as long as they're together. Then Amy informs Nick that her parents are experiencing financial issues and have requested her trust fund money. Nick is surprised she did it without consulting him. "This is the phase when you say, it's just background noise," Amy explains. He relaxes and repeats the words. Nick then lost interest in the marriage and splurged on devices like video games and a new laptop. Amy feels he's portraying her as a drama queen. Worse, Nick and Margot's mother Maureen has breast cancer, requiring Nick and Amy to return to Missouri. Amy is unhappy that Nick didn't even discuss moving to Missouri with her, even though she supports it. Amy feels alone. She claims he just uses her for pleasure. Amy attempts to encourage Nick to remain with her one evening as he is getting ready to go out with old friends, also refusing her invitation since she won't like it. Then Amy suggests having a kid. He becomes enraged, wondering why they couldn't have argued 4 hours earlier instead of just before he leaves. Nick takes Amy and tosses her down the stairs, where she hits the banister post and falls to the floor. He is instantly ashamed. At present day, Nick is at Margot's a couple of evenings after Amy goes missing. Margot has gone to bed, then Nick receives a message. Nick reopens the curtains. Suddenly, Andy, Nick's mistress, enters and kisses Nick. He instructs her not to disturb Margot's sleep. Nick makes sure Andy hasn't discussed her affair with Nick or his desire to divorce Amy. He asks her whether she left any red underwear in his office, unsure. They kiss and have intercourse again. Nick lets Andy out early, assuming Margot is still sleeping. As a result, Margot storms into the kitchen and aggressively chastises her brother for lying to her. Later that night, Amy has a vigil. Amidst the chaos, Nick stands by her parents, trying to seem more sympathetic and eager to locate Amy. Andy stands out in the crowd. Noel approaches Nick and asks whether he knew Amy was 6 weeks pregnant. The media follow Nick to the police vehicle as they drive him away. Margot confronts him. And he maintains he didn't know she was pregnant, but he did. So he brings her a letter from the fertility clinic saying they would dispose of a semen sample unless someone arrived to recover it. However, Rhonda and Jim return to Nick's house and explain that a light test revealed a massive pool of blood in the kitchen. Nick denies Amy knows Noel until Rhonda shows him photos of them with Noel's kids. She even provides Nick a receipt for recent pricey purchases on his credit card, including golf equipment and a Stratocaster guitar, which Nick denies buying. Rhonda also questions Nick about increasing Amy's life insurance policy to over $1 million earlier that year. Amy's urine sample analysis confirms Amy was indeed pregnant. Rhonda is notified. Meanwhile, Nick recalls the third clue and decodes it. Rhonda and Jim investigate an abandoned mall inhabited by prostitutes and drug traffickers. They locate a dealer and show him Amy's picture. She attempted to purchase a gun from him. He remembered it was Valentine's Day, and she was wearing a pink outfit. They return to Nick's father's house, wondering why Nick went there soon after Amy disappeared. Amy's journal is found partially burned in the basement furnace. Nick infers that the third clue relates to a woodshed near Margot's house. He finds a massive collection of products from credit card transactions, with a gift-wrapped package in the midst. Going back to the 5th of July 2012, when Amy was reported missing. However, Amy is alive and staged her disappearance. While driving away from Missouri, she is seen to have an open wound on the inside of her elbow and a bandage over it. Amy tossed her old journals out the car window after using a variety of pens to make them seem 5 years old. It shows a happy marriage declining to the point when she gets a gun to protect herself from Nick. Pregnant Noelle is made to believe Nick was torturing her. Amy gave Noelle lemonade as she flushed her toilet. Amy then stole her urine to use for a pregnancy test. Amy suggested Nick go out and reflect on their marriage on their anniversary along the beach, leaving him no excuse. For Nick, she set up a crime scene. Her plans included suicide to completely frame Nick. To avoid detection, she cuts her hair, dyes it, and appears messy. She begins to overeat junk food. With a hammer, she hides at a little resort as Nancy for the story. Meets Greta. Amy tells her how Nick left the bar with Andy on a chilly night, wiping her lips before kissing her the same way he kissed Amy when they first met. Her plan works well, so she waits a month. At the present day, Nick opens the present box to discover Punch and Judy dolls with a baby and no mallet. Amy had framed Nick for her absence, he and Margot figure out. The next day, Nick goes to New York City to see Tanner Bolt, a tough case lawyer who has been following Nick's tail in the media. He agrees to assist Nick. He offers Amy's second boyfriend's phone number so Nick may interview him. As Amy is cleaning the room the next day, Greta and her boyfriend break into Amy's room and start looking for money to clean up to leave. Amy threatens to contact the cops. They grab the money from her undergarment. Poverty-stricken Amy contacts the Missing Amy tip line and reports unusual activity at Margot's woodshed. She then uses a payphone. Meanwhile, Tanner heads to Missouri to help Nick and Margot. Nick tells Tanner what he believes happened with Amy, throwing hints only he knows. For instance, he knew the Brown home and the treasure hunt clue was his dad's since they pretended he was a spy named Mr. Brown. Nick also confesses to the affair, which Tanner believes he should inform the detectives, so they don't assume Nick killed Amy. In an interview with Sharon Schieber, a television reporter, Nick tells his side of the tale. Having Nick acknowledge that he's been unfaithful and dishonest might help Tanner get some media attention, making him more popular. On the day of the interview, every time Nick seems too confident, Tanner bombards him with gummies in his dressing room. Desi meets Amy in a casino. She never mentions losing money, but she pushes the mistreated wife narrative. They go towards Desi's lake house. Andy confessed her romance with Nick during a press conference with Amy's parents while Nick met Sharon. Desi, Amy, and Sharon all see the news simultaneously. Mary Beth informs reporters that Rand and her love for Nick are over. Desi and Amy watch Nick's interview with Sharon as Margot watches Nick. Margot checks the internet and finds Nick trending nicely. Due to the woodshed call, Rhonda and other officers come up to Margot's house with a search warrant. They discover the credit card item. Nick and Margot are arrested. Amy's journal finishes with, "This guy may genuinely kill me," Rhonda reads to Nick. Officer retrieves the Judy mallet from the puppets. It's been burnt in their fireplace, but it contains Amy's blood. Rhonda has a murder weapon and arrests Nick. Tanner silences him. Amy discovers that Desi has surveillance cameras all throughout his house. She plainly stages a horrific rape while he's away at work. She soaks her nightgown in crimson wine, shackles her wrists and feet, and crawls to the camera, weeping. Nick and Margot are freed. Now that everyone knows Nick is a heartless monster, the media continues to pursue them. Nick silently mutters Amy to return. Amy awaits Desi's return. She obtains a wine bottle and injects herself to cause pain. Amy seduces Desi and decides to accompany him to Greece after the trial. They enter the room. She begins stripping him, ripping his shirt apart, and they commence intercourse. Amy wants it harder. Amy slices Desi's neck with a box cutter she hid behind the cushions. His blood drenches her as he dies under her. She does seem upset about her actions. About a month later, Nick looks out his window and sees Amy driving up, still covered in blood. As she approaches him, media and neighbors swarm around Nick and Amy. "You fucking bitch," he says as she falls in his arms. Amy is examined by cops at the hospital and invents a story about Desi kidnapping and raping her before making her heroic escape. Amy deflects Rhonda's inquiries concerning Margot's woodshed things and returns to her rape story while excessively medicated on painkillers. Alive and well, the media follow her and Nick home. But Nick senses something is wrong and asks what occurred. Amy has Nick undressed to show he's not wired. She walks to the shower to wash off Desi's blood. She almost admits to framing and murdering Desi to return to Nick in the shower with Nick. Nick sleeps in a different room and locks the door. 7 weeks later, Nick and Amy make their first public appearance as a reunited couple at the Volunteer Center. They've even invited Ellen Abbott to their house for an interview. Amy offers Nick a pregnancy test as they prepare. It's positive. Nick insists it's not his and demands a blood test. Then he finds she has taken his sperm sample and is using it to impregnate herself to keep him with her. He takes her and pushes her against the wall, calling her a cunt. She says she's the cunt he fell for. And she's the only one who made him feel manly. Nick reluctantly joins Amy for the interview. Amy prods Nick, and he claims they're going to be parents when Ellen beams and embraces Amy. Margot eventually learns of the pregnancy and mourns her brother's decision to remain with her for the child's sake. For the next 18 years. The movie ends with Nick stroking Amy's hair again, wondering to himself just what she's thinking. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.